Pinpoint News Tracker takes us to Windsor Locks and Bradley International Airport to give you a better idea of exactly where this is happening. And here are 3 things we know at this hour. We've been reporting that 5 people have died, but just minutes ago, Channel 3's Dennis House confirmed with the governor's office that the death toll is now 7. There were 13 people on board that plane. 1 person was injured inside the building, making this the 2nd deadliest plane crash in Connecticut history.
Yeah, sad to hear that. 7 people now. The plane is a World War II era bomber built back in 1945 and was recently bought a few years ago, at least, by the Collins Foundation back in 1986, I should say.
The airport is back open. It was closed for much of the day. It is operating on 1 runway, so a number of flights this evening have been canceled or delayed.
And we do want to go right now to Bradley International Airport in Windsor Locks.
Channel 3's Dennis House and Aaron Connolly are in the field for us tonight. What are you learning? Dennis, you learned more about the death toll climbing to 7.
Well, Denise and Mark, good evening to you. I can tell you that all of the deceased are adults. There was some speculation that a child or children were among them, but we can confirm to you tonight that the dead are all adults. 7 of them. A sad update to this story, which began this morning. The crash scene, you can see it's behind us, right over our shoulders near the International Arrivals Building.
This is certainly not any news that anyone wanted to hear, that is for sure. Off in the distance, we can see some planes taking off, but it is not business as usual here. There are still, as Dennis pointed out, emergency crews here on scene and a number of agencies trying to investigate to figure out exactly what happened. When I first got here, we went right to Laz Fly. That's an area right near the airport where cars are valeted. Employees said they heard the plane, they saw the plane coming over them, and they ran outside to get a glimpse. And it was scary, to say the very least. Listen in.
My heart goes out to all of them. The family, everything is just really heartbreaking just to see that happen, and especially, you know, being in the same area where it all happened is just like, man, I'm shaking.
Yeah, Jonathan telling me too that he has worked near the airport for a number of years and has never seen anything like this before. Obviously, he's shaken up, and you can only imagine what these families and what the victims were going through in those final moments. It's hard to wrap your head around, and it's just so upsetting.
Indeed, because we talked to people who flew this plane, and there are no seats in the rear of the aircraft where most of the passengers sit. You basically sit on the floor, and you're belted in with seat belts, and you're sitting on one side of the airport. You're basically facing another passenger who's looking at you.
And this just happened in minutes. I mean, you're talking about they took off from runway 6 at 9:45, I believe. Then at 9:50 is when people started witnessing the plane having some issues. The pilot of the plane, who has yet to be identified, called back to the tower saying, listen, something is going on here. And then, of course, at 9:54 is when that plane crash landed and went right into the maintenance building here, where at least 1 person was inside.
As Denise and Mark mentioned at the top of this broadcast, this is the 2nd worst aviation accident in Connecticut history. The worst was in New Haven back in the 1970s. An Allegheny Airlines jet crashed at Tweed New Haven Airport. 28 people were killed there. This is the worst ever at Bradley Airport, and so state officials have quite a bit on their hands tonight. Let's check in with Channel 3's Patricia Del Rio. She is at the Media Briefing Center, where the governor and other state officials are expected to speak a little bit later on. Patricia?
Yes, well, we are expecting this news conference to begin at 6 o'clock this evening. We are in the ballroom at the Sheraton, which is attached here to Bradley International Airport, and we are hoping to get a bunch of different things answered. As you said, the sad breaking news that it is now 7 people who are confirmed to have been killed in this crash. Now, as you mentioned, this happened around 9:45 this morning, and about 5 minutes into it, they realized pretty quickly they were losing altitude. They called back to the tower. They started circling back toward the airport and then crashed into the ground. There were 13 people on board the flight. 10 of them were paying customers to be there. 3 of them were crew, and 1 person on the ground injured. Now, this is a vintage plane, 75 years old, from World War II. It's actually part of a traveling exhibit that is taking place here at the airport. They have the B-17, B-25 bomber, and other planes that people pay money to go up and have the experience experience of being in something that is part of history. Now, it is many of these people have not been identified publicly because they're very badly burned, and it's a gruesome task to try and determine, frankly, who is who, because this plane crashed into the ground in flames. We spoke to the spokesperson for the airport, and he describes the details of this plane crashing.
We did observe that the aircraft was not gaining altitude. The aircraft attempted to return to the runway. It circled around the airport. But unfortunately, upon touchdown, the aircraft obviously lost control, struck what's known as our de-icing facility here. Those are tanks that contain de-icing fluid as well as a maintenance facility.
So when we have this press conference at 6 o'clock, we're hoping to get some answers. Perhaps some of the victims might be identified, and also some more details as to how they think this might have happened. The National Transportation Safety Board is the lead agency on this, and sometimes it can be a lengthy process to determine whether this is pilot error or some sort of mechanical malfunction. But we will try to get details at the press conference and bring that to you at 6 o'clock. We're live at Bradley International Airport. I'm Patricia Del Rio, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.